Yes. What's happening, everybody? It is Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. We have 297, UFC 297 this Saturday coming up. Pay-per-view card headlined by Strickland versus DuPlessis. This is a fun card. We got a really good 5-fight card here. We got some great prelims, a lot of Canadian fighters on this card. This card is taking place in Ontario, Canada. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I've got a lot of action already and some other things I'm just waiting to open. I'm waiting for props to open on some of these fights on like Bet Rivers, on DraftKings, on FanDuel, Caesars, all these other books that I play on to find the prop spots that I like and to wait and see where the lines go. So, I mean, I might even get near 15 units this week in terms of total exposure to this card. There's just a lot more stuff sticking out this week. A lot of closely lined fights. A lot of fights now that have went from being, like moderate favorites to being heavy favorites. There's a lot of steam coming in on some like Malcolm Gordon right now, on Jillian Robertson right now. Brad Katona was like minus 160 when we were talking about him on Stat Diggers on Sunday, and now he's like almost minus 200. So a lot of line movement to talk about here. We've got prize picks props out. We've got props on Bet Online on basically every fight, and we've even got main card props on DraftKings and Bet Rivers right now. So let's talk some fights. Let's find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. Let's look at the stats. I've got my stats ready. I've got my prop templates ready. If you want to ask any prize picks questions, I don't even know if Underdog has their stuff out yet, but feel free to let me know what you need from me in order to help you make a decision on any bets that you're leaning on this week. So let's see who's around with us this week. Who's hanging out in the chat here? We got my guy Bob Spikerman's in the room saying, "Ask Weezy what's up." Going hard this week. Yes, sir. Dude, I am going hard this week. 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours on Stat Diggers on Sunday night. Little over 2 hours with my man Clint on the Die Hard MMA podcast on Sports Radio on Monday night. A little over hours last night, just the tip with Uncle Weezy right here. I've already did an hour earlier today in the DFS show on Pub Sports Radio with Brady, with Gordo, with Monk. So yeah, like I think at this point, close to 8 hours of content, and I'm making myself available to answer your questions tonight. We're still doing a greasy 4-leg parlay. We're still doing the watch along on Pub Sports Radio on Saturday. So join me. Come along with me on this journey of breaking down this card, breaking down these fights, and finding bets that'll help us enjoy it even more when we're watching it, because we'll be making money while we're doing it. We got Iceland Farts in the room saying, "Let's get it." What's up, dude? Good to see you in here. We got Bob saying, "Respect and much love, my brother. Appreciate you, Bob." We got Teretea Peku in the room saying, "Sure, what is happening, man? Good to see you in here as always." My guy Iceland Farts took second place this last event in the Pub Sports Radio contest. Shame I only had one loss, which was Nolan. Oh my God. Yeah, Nolan, a lot of people didn't see that coming. I wasn't on the Nolan side. I really felt like the under 1.5 was the way to go there, but that got juiced to the tits, so I didn't wind up betting it. Yeah, Moda hits so hard. He hits so hard, and Nolan is so aggressive that he's going to leave himself open to getting hit himself, and that's exactly what happened. I wish I would have made some money on that, because I saw that as a possibility, obviously, with somebody that has as much power as Moda. But hey, we move on to this week, and I'm looking to make I've definitely got a lot of bets this week. And we got for the contest season stats, what's considered a season, the entire year, for the contest season stats. I think it might be, it might be this year. I don't know. The guy that does the website over there on Pub Sports Radio, he's in the chat usually on Pub Sports Radio when we're watching those fights. They're the ones that have all the rules there. But yeah, I've just been putting my picks in, the same picks that I do on Tapology during Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy. That's what I put into the Pub Sports Radio contest every week. So yeah, Slaughter's giving away free money over there on Pub Sports Radio, so you might as well go over there and put your picks in every damn week and try and get that $100 that he gives away to the winner of the contest. We got my guy Victor de Jesus in the room saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Weezy in chat? Hey, Unc, I just put my bet in, tailing you on that max bet just for 1 unit though. Yeah, max bet today, you guys. I put it out on Twitter. The finish only prop. I got Arnold Allen in the finish only prop over Movsar Evloev. If the fight goes to decision, the bet voids. But I 5 units on that at minus 121, trying to win a little bit over 4 units. I do feel like Arnold has the finishing equity. You look at Movsar, 7 UFC wins, 0 of them come inside the distance. So, the guy's really not a finisher at this level. And I know a lot of guys will go out there and say, yeah, I'm going to start finishing fights now, because I got to be more popular. Well, I mean, like if you're not finishing fights, when you're young, when you're at your best, are you going to do it when you're in the top 10 of the division and finishing fights becomes one of the hardest things to do because you're going up against the toughest competition, guys that don't lose. So, I just think Arnold Allen definitely has way more power on the feet. And with as many takedowns as Evloev is going to be shooting and as good of a guillotine as Arnold Allen has, I think that it's, a decent shot that he is able to do something here and potentially could be the one that gets the finish should it happen. So, yeah, 5 units, minus 121, my biggest bet in a long time. So hopefully it either goes to decision, because I also have a bet that it goes over 2.5 rounds. I have it parlayed within the over 2.5 rounds in the Katona fight. I got that as a stop the violence parlay. So I think it goes to decision and it probably just voids, but I just feel like if there is a finish, I think it's like 75 to 80% of that finish equity goes on the Arnold Allen side, and maybe 25% to 20% goes on the Evloev side. So to get it at minus 121 instead of minus 300, minus 350, I think really good play. So, and on the other side too, Bet Online had it at like minus 190 for Arnold Allen's finish only prop, which means if I cold feet, I can just get the other side, the finish only prop for Evloev at plus money, at a bigger plus money number than minus 121, and about for a guaranteed profit if there is a finish, which it's very unlikely that there's going to be a finish in that fight. We got David Barista in the room saying, had to go back and rewatch the end of last night's show. Very much appreciate all the work you put in and share for the fans. Your passion for this sport is infectious. Dude, I really appreciate that, David. Those are really kind words, and they mean a lot, man, because I do work hard to put out these, stats. I show it. I'll share my screen with you guys here. Oh, did I not do that here? Is that working? No, I screwed it up. Hang on just a second. Yeah, these are the stats, but these are the notes that I do for the show. So, Malcolm Gordon versus Jimmy Flick, and I read off Malcolm Gordon's advantages. I read off Jimmy Flick's advantages, and then that's the summary. This is a 25-page document, so it's, I'm not just whistling Dixie when I'm on the show and I'm reading all these notes to you guys and talking about who has the statistical advantages in certain categories. Man, I do put a lot of work into this. Those show notes are available every week on my Patreon to any level of support, because I just think, why not share it with the people who do watch the show, who do support the work, those notes, so that you don't necessarily have to keep going back to hear what other people have to say. Now you can just read the notes from the show. And when you see everybody else's shows on YouTube out there, nobody's going, and doing 2.5 hour breakdowns on one card, a full card breakdown on most shows. When people do like 2-man shows, where they're both talking about every fight, they're an hour long, an hour and 10 minutes. I try to do my best for people that do their own research to give you all the angles, all the potential stats, everything of significance in that fight, write it all down, so it makes sense. so that, you don't leave any stones unturned and wind up being surprised by something that comes out of left field, because it happens enough in this sport where, variance does happen. But when you avoid it by doing the research in advance, by knowing all the stats, by knowing where somebody's strong, where somebody's weak, considering durability, considering conditioning, considering strength of schedule, offense and defense, and grappling, significant stats, distance striking stats, clinch stats, ground striking stats, UFC experience, pro experience, finish stats, tail of the tape. It's all there. So I appreciate that, David. Thank you for the kind words, man. We got DGen for life in the room saying, "Oi, what is happening? Good to see you in here." It's another Patreon supporter of mine. We got King Vicky in the room saying, "I'm hammering Katona." Holy shit. Dude, 18.8 units to win 10. Dude, King Vicky, that's irresponsible bankroll management. You don't lay 18.8 units on one fight. That's 18.8. That's almost 19% of your bankroll. If Katona goes in there and turns his ankle, if a perfectly placed calf kick shuts down his calf, if he knees somebody while his opponent while he's down and gets disqualified, there are so many ways that this could go tits up. And don't forget, like Katona doesn't really put a stamp on his fights. This is not a guy who's a finisher. So, you right now, I mean, I think that the bookies have got this thing around 60% implied to go to decision, which means that 60% of the outcomes on this fight, the judges get involved. So please don't bet 18.8 units on one fighter. It's bad bankroll management. I mean, you might win the bet. I mean, I think that Katona's got a ton of advantages on paper. I see why you're on the Katona side. He's more experienced, both at the UFC level and overall. He's a very good minute winner wherever the fight goes, in the clinch, at distance striking range. He's durable. He's got good fight IQ. He knows when to mix in the wrestling. He knows when that's an advantage, and he'll take advantage of that. He's fought the better brand of competition than Garrett Armfield. So I know that is, I'm picking Katona to win this fight as well. But bankroll management is something that I just preach a lot of, and 18.8 units on Brad Katona is what I would consider bad bankroll management. But I wish you the best, because I'm not betting Armfield. I'm not there yet. Maybe if Katona gets to minus 300 or something, I'll be like, okay, all right, now I'm plus 240. Let's take the shot. But I wish you luck, man. But don't be putting 19 units on one fighter. DGen saying Armfield is good. I feel like he could be a parlay buster. Bantamweight's so stacked. Yeah, bantamweight. I mean, bantamweight is such a good division, dude. There are guys that are like top 25 that some people just don't even want to fight. It's an incredibly stacked division. We got Pickle Kush saying, "Oi, let's go. What up, all? Any plus 3.5s sticking out to me?" Let me see. Let's not log in to my account. Oh, fuck. Then what would I do? Fuck. No, there aren't right now, Pickle Kush. I looked at them earlier. Obviously we can't do the first two because those are going to be 5.5s. $297. I mean, Gordon Flick, I don't think that goes to decision. I mean, it's juiced, but I think Arnold Allen can keep this fight close. What's Armfield plus 3.5? Minus 175. That's too juiced. I don't like that. Arnold Allen minus 3.5, I think is around minus 140. Let me see if that's right. Minus 125. And don't forget, like, Movsar's the Russian. Arnold Allen is a Brit, but he's been training with Faraz Zahabi for years. So he's kind of like a Canadian, that's where he trains. So he's going to be considered the hometown fighter here. And don't forget, there are some judges that just pretend like wrestling doesn't happen when it does happen. We've seen some fights that were, are judged on damage, and we've seen some where they consider the control time and they actually score that. So if we have judges here in Canada that are kind of rooting for Arnold Allen, so to speak, and are told for this particular fight, let's really keep an eye on who's doing the damage here. I think Arnold Allen plus 3.5 and minus 125 is a pretty good look this week, because this fight for is favored to go to decision like 75% of the time, you guys. Fight goes to decision is minus 300. That's a 75% implied probability. So 75% of the time in that bet, the judges get involved. Arnold Allen, the guy that probably will be landing the more impactful strikes. And if he can stop some takedowns, he can win one of these rounds. I think minus 125 is a damn good look this week. We got my guy Victor telling you to hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, do that. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Please consider joining the Patreon and leave me a comment down below. If you could do any of those things, you'd really be helping out your Uncle Weezy here. And we got Tea saying, yes, let's go. Let's get it, man. We got Dad's Files in the room saying, oi, 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 cool card. It is, man. I like this card a lot from top to bottom. Flick versus Gordon. Yes, it's a low-level fight, but it promises to be a fun one. Vicious is an up-and-coming prospect here in the flyweight division, and she's fighting a really fun fighter in her own right in Priscilla Cachoeira. Fun striker versus grappler matchup there. Sam Patterson getting his second chance here against the guy in Johan Leones, who just hasn't shown much yet at the UFC level. I think is a very interesting fight. Polyana versus Jillian is an interesting stylistic matchup as well. What happens if Polyana can actually stop some takedowns and keep this standing? I think she'll look way better than Jillian on the feet. Alan Evloev, super high level fight. Curtis versus Berio promises to be a bit of a ding dong, a Donnybrook, if you will. Mike Malott is on this card against a stud veteran that's fought 31 times in the UFC since the year 2013 in Neil Magny. You got a good co-main event here with Mayra Bueno Silva versus Raquel Pennington for the Bantamweight Championship. You got Strickland versus DuPlessis. No, it's a great card, man. I'm really loving this one, Daz Files. We got Jester saying, appreciate you, Weezy. I appreciate you for hanging out, brother. Let me know if you have any questions. Ryan Suck saying, stack them, baby. And he's saying, who is the ass shaving? The ass shaving of the week. You can always go to just the tip, and I've got everything time-stamped. The last timestamp is always the ass shaving of the week. You can always just go and check that out. But it is Mayra Bueno Silva to shave the ass of Raquel Pennington this weekend. I love her submission game. She's so opportunistic. She's so tough. And she pressures a ton. I think they're going to wind up in the clinch here. I think Mayra does great work in the clinch, and she's super aggressive on the ground, whether she's on top or on the bottom. So I do see Mayra getting the win here, and I'm predicting her to win by submission in the second round. And I think she's going to shave some ass, Ryan. We got Kyle Kelly in the room saying, yo, Unc, love the show with Clint this week. Important here, he says. And then where's the question? So there's no question. So, there we go. But let me know what your question is, Kyle. Nigel Lee saying small. Oi, what is up, Nigel? Good to see you hanging out in here, brother. Let me know if you got any questions for your Uncle Weezy today. We got 2N, the thoughts, 1N, the prayers. I went Mota because he had more experience. Well, you cashed a big plus money number there, dude. And that experience paid off, man. Nolan only 6 pro fights. Mota had been like in the Ultimate Fighter house something like 8 years ago in South America when he was 20 years old. So yeah, Mota's been doing it for a minute, and he's lost to some pretty good UFC competition, but the Ogden fight was a bad look. And, that's why I say sometimes we can take advantage of recency bias. Sometimes somebody comes off a really bad fight, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're done. It's different when you see somebody at like for instance, Jimmy Flick. You You see him, he wins that fight versus Durden. He takes 2 years off. He unretires. And then he gets knocked out in the first round by Charles Johnson, who, I mean, like, Charles Johnson takes about 4.5 rounds to get going. You know, the guy is only built for 5-round fights, and he's knocking out Flint, Flick in the first round. Nono Costa beat 7 Shades of shit out of him and finished him early in the second. So, it's one thing to like take time off in your 20s. It's another thing to take time off like in your 30s and shit. And I mean, like Mota, is still a young man. He's still, in the prime, in his physical prime, and he had a lot more experience in that matchup. So that's pretty cool. We got TJ Spartacus in the room saying, Uncle Weezy, what's up, man? Just answering some questions, just doing what I do here, man. Talking about these fights and trying to find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjack. So let me know if you got any questions for me. Iceland Fart saying, thank you, sir. I be repping Pub Sports Radio on every single MMA website forum. Dude, we got some great content over there at Pub Sports, man. Between Clint's show, between the Stat Diggers show that Brady and I do, we do a great DFS show. You got Mills out there doing interviews. You got like guys like Billy Briz and Boston Nick and Big Show running that watch along every Saturday. I mean, all the other shows that Clint does too, the sharp action breakdown, the total takedown. So yeah, I mean, definitely the Pub Sports Radio crew's got you covered when it comes to MMA content. We got Chris Reed in the room saying, good night, Weezy. What's up, Chris? Good to see you hanging out in here with us. Let me know if you got any questions. We got JP Taylor saying, oi, what's up, Weezy? I put a unit bet on Power Bar's money line against Curtis. I'm only conflicted on the takedown defense from Curtis, but I think at plus 150 or better, Mark Andre is very live. Yeah, I mean, I think that two things that Power Bar does that could be good is clinching up and winning minutes in the clinch. He's really good at that, and he's a pressure fighter, so he's gonna be leaving some openings for Chris Curtis, and that's something that you don't want to do because Chris is very precise. He really does counter very well, and he finds ways to land big shots that end the fight. But Marc Andre is very durable, and I think that he can win some minutes in the clinch here. And if he does that, Chris, if you don't give Chris the requisite amount of time to download the necessary information and set up the shot that he wants to finish you with, if you don't do that, you don't give him much time to win minutes because he's not really a minute winner. Chris is low volume. He waits the counter. And if he doesn't find that big shot, he's going to get outworked and he's going to get pressured a lot here by Berio. And if Berio can kind of put him on the fence and keep him there for extended periods of time, that's going to frustrate Chris and it's going to give him less time at distance to find that big shot that he is so good at finding. So it's an interesting stylistic matchup. I kind of like the Chris Curtis finish only prop on that fight. I think that Chris has most of the finishing equity because Chris is incredibly durable. I think even more durable than Marc-Andre Berio, and Chris is very powerful on the feet. And JP saying, I think he can take 2 ones and get the scorecards in favor on Canadian soil. I mean, yeah, you got to remember it's going to be him that's the hometown fighter, that the crowd's going to be reacting to what he does. Because and sometimes that's big in front of a live crowd when the crowd's cheering every time you land a shot and silent every time that your opponent lands one. That influences the judges. We got TH saying, what up, Unc? For DK, would you go with Jordan at 9,000 or Robertson for 9,100? I would go with Robertson because Robertson will get takedowns. Jordan stays very busy, but one of the things that you can look at here on the advanced stats packages that I have is the DraftKings and FanDuel points per minute. And like the new product is also going to have Prize Picks and Underdog and a much more robust amount of DFS stats available at your fingertips. But so there's a couple things to note here. Now, this is Jillian Robertson here, and these numbers that you see here are the offense and the defense. So she's scoring 3.04 points per minute and almost 70 points per fight. So she's she's got a good pace. The way you look at that is you can take the work rate per 15 minutes, 45.61 points. So if she gets a decision win, she'll get you 75 points, which is pretty solid for a decision win. But because she wrestles and because she racks up control time in a lot of those fights, she will score some more points when she wins sometimes. And Polyana Viana gives up over 3 points per minute as well. She's got poor takedown defense. So I think Jillian can get takedowns whenever she wants them. And once she does, she's going to be live to get to the back. She's going to be live to potentially get a finish via submission because both of these ladies finish at a ridiculously high rate for the division. We've got Iceland Farts in the room. Oh, and Jordan, I just wanted to illustrate. Jordan also scores a decent amount of points, but he doesn't really wrestle. And because of that, you don't get those big points unless he lands a knockdown. Jordan Woodson scores 3.62 points per minute and allows 3. And Jordan scores 3.31 and allows 3.25. So, yeah, they're both pretty good, but the stylistic matchup I favor for Jillian Robertson because I could see her getting several takedowns in that fight. I also like Katona, not for 18 units, though. We got JP saying, I'm nervous about my 1-unit bet. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, dude. We got to be nervous sometimes, but Katona does have a lot of things going for him on paper's fight. We got Easy Bet saying, what's good, Unc? Only question I got is simple. Are you bringing the sack of oranges out of retirement for the Gordon versus Flick betters? It would be hypocritical of me to do that, but I don't have anything on the money line, but I do have 1.25 units on the under 1.5 rounds for that fight. I do say that there's a pretty high probability of a finish on either side here, especially under 7.5 minutes. Both of these guys are not durable. Flick super dangerous with his submission game, as is Gordon. And Gordon on the feet, I think, is live absolutely for a knockout as well. We've seen him get a couple knockouts on the regional scene. He hits pretty hard. So yeah, I mean, I am betting the under 1.5 there, but that is as deep as I'm going on that fight. I just can't bring myself to lay that kind of juice on Malcolm Gordon and even like a Flick by submission bet, because it's not even plus 400 would have me a little nervous. A plus saying, Weezy, you change any of your picks since last night's vid? No, I have not. I've got them all right here. You can follow. I'm not Uncle Weezy. It won't let me change my name on Tapology. I am a Vic Vinegar. So this is, that's me right there. It is, Honey and Vinegar Realty from from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. So I mean, Vic Vinegar on Tapology. Then you can always see what the picks are. But yeah, I've made all the picks. It's Strickland round 4, Bueno Silva round 2, Mallet submission round 1, Curtis, Evloev, and Katona, City, and Robertson, and Jazz Devicius by decision, Jordan 3rd round knockout, Patterson 3rd round submission, Gordon 2nd round knockout. We got only 1 like and 28 viewers. What the fuck? Well, maybe people liked the 18-unit Katona bet and they're pissed off that I lectured him about bankroll management. But I mean, it is what it is. But please hit the like for your poor Uncle Weezy. If this video only gets 1 like, I think YouTube kicks me off of YouTube because they're just like, you're pathetic. If you got that many live viewers and 1 like, you're fired. So we got Iceland Fart saying hitting that like button. TJ Spartacus saying, can we please get a story time? Yeah, this one isn't really funny. But so I live in Chicago and I know it's cold all across the country right now. But I went out to my car to start the car on Monday, and I went to go open the driver's side door. It wouldn't open. It was frozen shut. I struggled to try to open the passenger side door. I did get it open finally. I went to go start the car and no dice. I mean, no, it was it was so cold. It just wouldn't even turn over at all. So then I was kind of pissed off, went to go exit the car. And now the door that I pried open and worked so hard to open would not close. So yeah, the battery's dead now. And the driver's side door, the passenger side door is open in the freezing cold. Yeah, it sucks sometimes living in Chicago when it gets this cold. And yeah, I'm gonna have to see in a couple of days to go jump that thing when it warms up a little bit, and see if I can get that door fixed. Oh God, I hate this weather, man. We got Dylan Danucci saying, "Weezy the man, what is up, Dylan? Thanks for hanging out with us." LOLs, I bet Magny that plus 300 just hit my buttons. I actually bet Magny too. I got 110 unit Daz files on Neil Magny to win by third round submission at plus 7,500. So if Magny somehow pulls off a third round submission, I'll be up 7.5 units. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of just one of those flush the 1/10 of the unit down the lane, but also know that like if this fight goes over 7.5 minutes, I kind of feel like all bets are off. We don't know what Mike Mallet looks like after 7.5 minutes. And you can say in interviews all day, that you've got cardio for 15-minute fights, but we've never once seen it except for once like 10 years ago in Bellator, and he had a big first round and didn't do shit in the second or the third. Magny is durable. Well, he's not very durable, but one thing he does do is have amazing conditioning, and he will push a pace. So I took a shot on it, and I see why the people that want to take Magny, he's longer, he's taller, he's got like an 8-inch reach advantage or some shit like that. He's way more experienced at the UFC level and overall. He's got phenomenal conditioning. So we'll see what happens. We got Ryan saying, "Thanks, Weezy. Love you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out, man." We got, "Hey, Weez, need 5 finishers for Rainmakers this week. Can you help a brother out?" Yeah, man. You need a finisher. I would say whoever you think is going to win the main event. I think Myra Bueno Silva finishes. I think Mike Malott finishes. I think Malcolm Gordon gets a finish, and I think Sam Patterson gets a late finish. And I think a lot of these other fights do go to decision, man. But and then I think that Chris Curtis is live for a knockout. I think he's always live for a knockout just because of how precise he is with his counter striking and how aggressive Marc-Andre Berio is. I think he's going to stay in Chris's face, and he's going to give Chris some opportunities to land some good pocket slip and rip combos that could potentially end the fight. So those are the guys I like. And ring a ding ding, you guys. We got the 99-cent super sticker here from 2N the thoughts, 1N the prayers. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the donation to the show. Keeping the lights on here in your Uncle Weezy's studio. As long as they don't freeze, I think we're going to be good. Thanks to the super sticker, my man. Appreciate you. And we got another super sticker here, $4.99 from my guy 2N the thoughts, 1N the prayers. That'll definitely, we're not going to freeze now, man. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much for the donations for the show. Sorry for the 99 cents, he says. I'll take it, man. I don't care. 99 cents is 99 cents, dude. Anybody that supports the show has my gratitude. So thank you so much for the donation. It really means a lot. We got So Did We Decide, Drickus or Sean? Oh, so the official pick is Sean Strickland by 4th round knockout. But, I think it's very important to, when us cappers are not confident about a side, to just say, look, I honestly, it's almost like flip a coin for me, because I know that the longer this fight goes, that Sean is going to be better and better, and that pressure and that volume and that keep, sticking that jab in your face over and over and over again is gonna wear the fuck out of Drickus DuPlessis, who has never won a fight by decision in his career and has never seen a 4th round or a 5th round in his entire pro career. We see, like Sean Strickland went 5 rounds in the last main event of 2023. And then they called him a week and a half later, and they were like, "Hey, dude, I know you're enjoying your break and you don't have a fight scheduled, but Nasruddin Mavov needs an opponent. How about you come out here and you fight 5 rounds another 2 weeks from now?" And he's like, "Sure." Probably didn't change a thing in his life because the guy spars every single day, but Drickus is ridiculously powerful, and his style is just really difficult to deal with as well. So I think that both of these guys are incredibly live. But what I love, Skyrocket 1010, is the fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece this week. I just don't this fight going 25 minutes. I don't see Drickus DuPlessis with the way that he's built, and the way that he fights. He throws 100% power into his strikes. He attempts takedowns. The pace that he fights at is absolutely exhausting, and he's just giant middleweight who's bricked up entirely with muscle. So I don't see guys, being able to fight at that pace for 25 minutes without dying of a heart attack at some point, unless you're just literally on like every steroid known to man, which could be a possibility, I suppose. But like, it's just not a sustainable pace. It's not a sustainable way to fight. So I do think that if Dricus doesn't get it done early, that Sean can get it done late. And I think Sean is absolutely live to land a bomb early on Dricus, because Dricus is very defensively irresponsible. He blasts forward all the time, and Sean's fast and precise. So I think he can even catch him with something early that changes the fight. So I really don't have much of an opinion on who wins the fight, but I love fight doesn't go to decision. Which fight takes fight of the night bonus? I mean, I'm thinking the main event, you guys. Maybe Jordan Woodson could just be like a really fun, Donnybrook, just, absolute, dust up where they just beat the shit out of each other for 3 rounds. Those would be, I think, Jordan Woodson. I think Curtis Berio is going to be a ding dong. I think Mike Mallett's, if he gets like a first round finish, he'll get a bonus. And I think Strickland DuPlessis is just going to be a fan favorite, a phenomenal main event. Iceland Farts in the room saying, I don't know if you're allowed to tell me if you're not sponsored by them, but are there any MMA forums that you post on? No, there really aren't. I every once in a while I'll post the link to Just the Tip on Sherdog's forums. But really, I don't post on any of these forums. You guys, I spend so much time creating content, that it's really hard for me, outside of providing all the stats products that I do for Patreon, watching all the tape that I need to watch every single week in order to be prepared to do 10 hours of on-camera content, per week. It doesn't leave me with much time really for myself, and to do be on forums, to be on Twitter, responding to everybody and shit. It's difficult. Just keeping up the YouTube channel and maintaining a database of stats and getting the stats out to the Patreon members is a full-time job in itself. So I don't really post on any. We got Brady Stevens in the room saying, playing the O Canada parlay this week, all 9 Canadians to win, $5 to win 263. Why not? Dude, why not is right. Why not is right, man. Canada's a long trip for most opponents, So yeah, I think it's a great spot. And the Canadian fans really come out to represent. They're loud, they're raucous, they're great MMA fans. So yeah, why not support all the Canadian fighters and take a small $5 shot? You're not going to be homeless if that doesn't hit, I like Allen a lot this Saturday, says Chris Reed. I see him eventually chinning Evloev and bum rushing him, getting him out of there. What do you think? You got 11 likes. I got 11 likes now. I'll fucking take that. So what I think, Chris, is that I max bet the Arnold Allen finish only prop. I think he has all the finish. Well, I think he's got most of the finishing equity in this fight. I'd say 75%, which would make a finish only prop at that price be about minus 300. I got it at minus 121. I put that on Twitter today for everybody to let them know that this is kind of a mispriced line. I think Movsar is not a finisher at this level. He's a crotch sniffer. He wrestles. You guys look at his stats. Okay? This is important. Movsar Evloev has a 50% takedown offense, 71% takedown defense. His fights are in grappling positions about 50% of his UFC cage time, which is over 100 minutes, right? And he wins 41% of his cage time in control positions, and he allows 5.52. So he's winning 88% of those positions. Now, he's landed 339 distance strikes. He has 0 knockdowns, so this is not a power striker. Now, he's a very good striker. He's high volume. He's got a great jab. And because of the threat of the wrestling, it's hard to be too aggressive with your own strikes, knowing that, if you overreach, he can duck under and get in on your hips and get an easy takedown on you. So you have to be a little more tentative against him. He's high volume. He's accurate. He's defensively responsible. He moves very well. He's got excellent conditioning, but he doesn't have power. And he's only attempting, and for a guy that controls his opponents as often as he does, 0.29 submission attempts per 15 minutes. So he's just not aggressive trying to finish fights on the ground. I mean, even Arnold Allen, a guy who's not really a grappler, attempts more submissions on the mat than Evloev does. Arnold Allen has 4 wins, 2 by submission, 2 by knockout out of his 10 UFC wins that have been finishes. Movsar 0 out of 7. So, yeah, man, I do like Allen. I think Allen by decision. I think Allen decision only. I think Allen finish only prop. I think they're all live bets this week, to be honest with you. But Evloev is a master of mixing the martial arts and doing it in a way where he can win minutes and bank rounds. So, yeah, I think that is, or I'm sorry, the Mavs are the Arnold Allen plus 3.5 handicap. I think also is a very interesting look this week. I think Allen is an interesting way. I like the numbers on him this week, and I see a path for him, but we'll see, man. Evloev is a stud. Scanfield Film saying, you weren't lying, Weezy. Got into town this afternoon. It's damn cold. Yeah, dude, it really is. And actually, it's about 15 degrees warmer today than it was yesterday and the day before. So just absolutely brutal how cold it is. And I know you're from down south, so it's cold down there for you guys right now. But, God, it's just a different cold up here. And then you go further north like Minnesota, Montana, Canada. That's real cold. That we make, Chicago doesn't even get even close to what those guys get to. Welcome to Chicago, man, my friend. Good to have you in town. We got Martin Durmov saying, who the fuck is betting Malcolm Gordon past minus 200? What the fuck is going on? Look, it's one of the rules Brady and I always talk about on Stat Diggers. Don't fade a bad fighter with a bad fighter. And what's happening right now is, Malcolm Gordon's not a great fighter, you guys. He's just not. He's not durable. And Jimmy Flick is a very aggressive submission grappler. So, yeah, I'm not betting Malcolm Gordon past 200. It is not me, brother. I'll get him in some DraftKings lineups, and I've got that under 1.5. That's the extent of this. That's where I'm going. TJ Spartacus saying, I feel you, bro. I'm in Buffalo, and we've got 5 feet of snow in 2 days. Jesus, literally. And now it's 7. Oh, that's crazy. 7 degrees. Oh, my God. That's brutal. That is absolutely brutal, TJ. I mean, yeah, and Buffalo is way worse than Chicago is, man. Chicago is cold as fuck, but, I mean, Buffalo just takes it to a whole nother level up there, man. Crazy stuff. We got Martin Durmov in the room saying all the Phil Hawes bettors from last week got one more in them, apparently. Yeah, right. From yeah, that's for sure, dude. The chin on Malcolm Gordon is so bad. That dude hates getting hit so much. I've never seen a mixed martial artist that really hates getting hit as much as he does. Phil Hawes is at least tough and will engage in the firefight. Man, like Gordon, as soon as he realizes I can't take this guy down, and he's gotten hit a couple of times, he's like running for that door. So yeah, man, Martin, I don't know who's laying minus 220 right now on Malcolm Gordon, but please don't. There's nothing wrong with passing, people. There's nothing wrong with passing. We got Ruthless Soda Pop in the room saying, Weezy, what do you think about a mallet, Jazz the Vicious, and Jordan 3-leg? Got it at plus 147. And a Drickus Allen 2-leg. So Drickus and Allen. Oh, Arnold Allen got it at plus 443. Yeah, I think Drickus and Sean is as close to a coin flip as it gets. It's just it's hard to know how Drickus is going to react to Sean's style, and it's hard to know how Sean is going to react to Drickus' style, because they both kind of have a very unique style, and you don't really see a similar opponent to Drickus in Sean's past, and you don't really see a similar opponent to Sean Strickland in Drickus's past. So I think the Drickus Allen 2-leg, it's plus 443. You're going to cash, bets at that rate, 2 out of 10 times and break even, so it's nothing wrong with that. And then the Jordan, I wouldn't be throwing in a parlay, but Mallet and Jazz Davicius, I'm very confident in. It's just Jordan. His wins are just okay at the UFC level, but he has fought a lot of similar type opponents. So I think that that's a potential good look for him in front of the home crowd. And there's a lot of things on paper to like about Jordan, especially the durability, in my opinion. Martin saying, does Mike Malott give us the Gabriel Bonfim experience this weekend? I don't think so, because the thing about Bonfim is that he fought a guy in Dalby who has a very unique style, a very difficult style to deal with. And when you have a 100% finish rate, that kind of style can be very, very difficult because of the way that he keeps pushing. Magny is just not dangerous at all. He's never really been a finisher at the UFC level, and he's getting older and older and older. And we just haven't seen him get that respect, Martin. They talk about that a lot. When somebody pressures somebody, like, and somebody's getting walked down, they always, like, DC will be like, hey, so-and-so's got to get that respect back, because he can't be getting walked down like this for 15 minutes. And the way you get respect is to tag your fucking opponent. Let them know that there is going to be a price to entry. And if you want to keep doing this, I'm going to keep smacking you in the face. Magny doesn't have that kind of power. Dude, I think Neil Magny has 2 knockdowns in 31 fights. So I think what happens here is that Mallet disrespects this man early. And the power that Malott has on the feet, and the way that he snatches up submissions and seems to get them every single time, I really do see Malott getting this finish right away. First round submission. I've got Malott to win in under 1.5 rounds on DraftKings at plus 100 as a tracked bet. But I also did sprinkle that 1/10 of a unit on Magny to win by submission in round 3 at plus 7,500. Because why not? It's plus 7,500. I could tell the grandkids I'll never have, about that bet, about cashing a plus 7,500 on a Neil Magny fight. So TJ Spartacus, I have a story time. We have 2 dogs. One is a 65-pound lab mix, Gunner. The other is 16-pound rat terrier mix, Elvis. Well, Elvis decided to kill a rabbit tonight, and Gunner has PTSD. Really? He's a lab mix? Because labs are kind of like hunting dogs. So they're kind of bred for, like, killing rabbits. As a matter of fact, my cousin and her husband, they've got a little corgi that's an old dog, a corgi mix, and they've got a lab and a Doberman that are young, and they're like, they're like 3 years old, so they're in their primes and stuff. And when they had them when they were 1, my cousin Danielle, she had a bunch of friends over, and they were outside, and the lab went and found a rabbit that had babies and attacked the nest and ate one of the babies, like put it in his mouth, and then walked over to people, and they were all just horrified. And then he just threw his head back and swallowed the rabbit whole. And then 3 hours later, he puked up the rabbit in the house. So, like, dogs are messed up, man. Like, and cats are even worse. Cats will kill shit, but they'll torture it first. They're horrible. So yeah, I mean, it's wild. And now your poor lab mix has PTSD. Those rat terriers, dude, they're bred to kill, man. I mean, they're bred to kill rats. So I mean, it's not surprising that happened, man. TJ Spartacus saying, anytime Strickland is in the fight, I think a decision is always in play. Yeah, that's a possibility, but it's styles make fights. Drickus DuPlessis has had 22 professional fights, TJ. 1 of those 22 fights has went to decision. 1 of 22. So over 95% of this guy's fights finish inside the distance. Dricus DuPlessis has never seen a fourth round, and he's never seen a fifth round. So I think because this is a Dricus DuPlessis fight, as much as it is a Sean Strickland fight, that fight doesn't go to decision at minus 300. It's a phenomenal parlay piece. We got, after watching film, I give Flick submitting Gordon a lot more credence. Gordon will probably stick his head in and get choked. The books will clean up. Dude, I could absolutely see it happening. I just want it to happen in less than 7.5 minutes because that's what I got. I got the under 1.5 rounds there. Dude, of course Flick is live. He's 14-0 to the submission. The guy can submit anybody if you make a mistake. And Malcolm Gordon has been submitted twice in his pro career. So yeah, man, it's absolutely on the table. Jordan is always in Donnie Brooks. D-Gen for life, 100% right about that guy. Yeah, Donnie Brooks, Ding Dongs, Kerfuffles. You know, he's in all of them, man. And his fights are absolutely fun to watch. And with the hometown crowd screaming at everything that he lands, it's going to be a really fun fight, man, for sure. We got Martin Durmov saying Flick sub is absolutely super live. Yeah, absolutely it is, man. There's no doubt about it. This guy is a submission whiz, and he chains them together beautifully. That Nate Smith performance on Dana White's Contender Series was a real eye-opener. I hope that he's still taking this seriously and not just showing up for the checks, but we'll see. Martin Durmov saying Gordon is a Walmart black belt and respectively a dumbass. Dude, I was thinking kind of like the same thing when I was watching the tape on him. Like, he's this kind of guy who will get a knockout on the regional scene and then like get in the guy's face after he knocks them out. And it's like, oh my God, you know, I mean, like it has the Barry Sanders, who was one of the best running backs to ever play the game of football. You know, when he used to score touchdowns, he'd immediately, as soon as he scored that touchdown, he'd go and he'd hand the ball to the referee. He wouldn't spike it. He wouldn't do a dance. He wouldn't like sit there and have like a cell phone in the padding of the goal posts. He wouldn't have like a full 3-act play ready to act out after he scored. He would just hand the ball to the referee. And that was because Barry's old man told Barry, when you get in that end zone, act like you've been there before. Right? When you win a fight, act like you pretended like you had a chance to win it. Don't get in your opponent's face after you beat them. It's such a disrespectful thing to do. You disrespect martial arts when you do dumb shit like that. So yeah, I totally tend to agree, Martin, that this guy might be just a bit of a dumbass. We got A+ saying 27 likes. We're getting it going, man. We're getting it going. We got Victor De Jesus saying, hey, Weezy, other than your current bet on Allen, anything else you'd be willing to match bet? Yes, a couple of things, potentially. I love the fight doesn't go to decision for the main event, Vic. I mean, I just don't see that going 25. I could absolutely see that being a max bet this week. What else do we got here? Dude, Malcolm Gordon's money line. What could possibly go wrong with betting Malcolm Gordon at minus 220, right? What could possibly go wrong? That's like, because my max bet is only 5 units, Vic, but like I think 10 units on Malcolm Gordon is absolutely something that you should max bet if you are suicidal. You know, if you're looking to put your head in the oven at 450 degrees with a sign on your back that says no funeral, then maybe max bet the Malcolm Gordon money line. You know, here's another one. I don't think I'd max bet it, but the over 2.5 rounds for Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield is only like minus 175. I don't see the finishing equity in unless Garrett Armfield death gases. I just don't see finishing equity here in the first 12.5 minutes for Brad Katona. So the over 2.5 rounds for Katona versus Armfield is still at minus 180. I got it at like minus 170 something. That is something that I feel very confident that this does go over 2.5 rounds. And also the Arnold Allen Evloev over 2.5 rounds at -350 is a juiced line that I still think even has a little bit of value there. I did max bet at the finish only prop, but sometimes I'm willing to do that when I see a high probability of a decision and all the finishing equity on one side of the fight. So those are the spots that are juiced this week that I think hit even at a higher percentage than the implied probability of the line. JP Taylor saying, is it just me, Weezy, or does Sean Strickland sound like Sergeant Slaughter on the old G.I. Joe cartoon, or even when he turned his heel as MFF WWF? Yeah, dude. He kind of does have that gravelly voice, and I think that we've seen more of that gravelly voice recently. He kind of like almost gets into character when he talks. So Sean Strickland is a very uh, particular way of speaking. He has a very particular demeanor. You could hear that voice and you'd be like, yeah, that's Sean. You know, not just by the tone of his voice, but by what you hear, but it's also what's coming out of his mouth. Half the shit that comes out of Sean Strickland's mouth could only come out of Sean Strickland's mouth. So yeah, man, I tend to agree with you there, JP. We got David Barista likes it, man. We got A+C. Seen a lot of people on Gordon. Is Flick totally a fade? No, I think that this is people who are fading a bad fighter with a bad fighter. But I think that if you just kind of put the stylistic strengths and weaknesses of both fighters side by side, I think it's a pretty close fight. I think Flick's probably the better wrestler. I think Flick is probably the more dangerous submission grappler. Flick has shown some good cardio in the past as well. But in the past, like I said, go watch that Nate Smith fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He wrestled for a full 3 rounds. He attempted something like 7 or 8 submissions. He was active that whole fight and dominated that whole fight. So yeah, man. Flick is live. He's a little bit live. But like I said, I just don't, for my own mental health, I don't want more than 1.25 units on a Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Flick fight in the year of our Lord 2024. Jacob Garcia saying, thoughts on Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield? Yeah, I think I already addressed this a little bit, Jacob, but I kind of feel like if you're going to bet that Katona side, bet him to win by decision because you're going to get a much better line. See, right now you're paying -209 on the money line. So that means you're paying about 67, 68% implied probability. But Brad Katona by points is +115. That's like a 47% implied probability. So you knock like 20% of implied probability off the price of the line to get Brad Katona how he's won all of his fights for the most part, which is by decision. I think he's got the worst finish rate on the card, and I think a lot of people think he is going to wrestle here. And if he does that, it's probably going to be kind of like a grindy cage stalling, that kind of matchup. And I think it cruises the full 3 rounds. So if you're on that Katona side, I think maybe you go with that Brad Katona by points. I think Garrett Armfield finish only. Nah, that's +110 is not nearly juicy enough. I wouldn't touch that. I love the over in this fight at -180, the over 2.5. But I do think that Garrett Armfield is somewhat live, you guys. I really do. He lands heavy strikes on the feet. He throws a lot of volume. Brad Katona is fairly hittable, and Brad Katona does not put a stamp on a lot of his wins. But that being said, Brad's more experienced. Brad's fought the better brand of competition. Brad is extremely durable and difficult to finish. And Brad, he's got great fight IQ and he knows when to use what tools. So Garrett is fighting a guy that with very good fight IQ, a very good process, who's a lot more experienced. Well, not a lot more, but he's got a decent amount more experience than he does. So this is a tough ask on foreign soil in front of a potentially hostile crowd for Garrett to win this fight. But I think there are paths for him, Jacob. Quick money line and sub prop are absolutely both live. Yeah, I think, +335 right now, I think, for Flick sub. That's how he wins fights, ladies and gentlemen. So I mean, I think that's the way you go if you're playing that flick side. Like I said, mental health reasons, I'm staying away. We got Victor saying it was -17 here 2 nights ago. That lake effect makes a hell of a difference when the Chicago wind blows this way. Yeah, man, because you're right on the other side of the lake from me, Vic, just a little bit north of me too. So yeah, it makes a difference when the wind's blowing that way and it just goes over that lake, which is so cold, especially, like at this time of year. You guys get the worst of it for sure, man. Teo Retea saying, I usually watch about 20 to 30 hours of fight tape. I haven't really had time this week. I'm feeling a little lost. I'm looking at under in the first fight, over for the Jazz Divicius fight, and the Woodson money line right now. I don't hate any of those plays. I think the Woodson fight is going to be close. I think there are some, like Garrett Armfield, I think it makes this fight close. I think Arnold Allen makes the Evloev fight close. I think Woodson makes the Jordan fight close. There's a lot of fights that I think could wind up being real close. Oh, -40 last week in Alberta. Your piss freezes before it hits the ground. Dude, that's crazy. That's so much worse than what we have here. We got Rouse is saying, Oi, Weezy, how do you feel about Curtis over 61.5 significant strikes? I get he's a counter striker, but I feel like Mark can bring the fight to him. It just comes down to if he KOs him. Yeah. So let's look at these guys' numbers. Oh yeah, I gotta go to the left. Then my laptop, so I can't see. All right, there we go. Chris Curtis lands 5.1 distance strikes per minute. Marc-Andre Berio absorbs 5.7 distance strikes per minute. Now, in my opinion, Rouses, this fight takes place at distance striking range most of the time, unless Marc-Andre Berio is actively looking to clinch up with Curtis. But I think Curtis's footwork is going to be good enough to kind of not let that happen. But if he does let it happen, that could be a situation where you go under if Berrio's holding this guy up against the cage. But here, let's look at this number right here. This is Marc-Andre Berrio's total cage time or total control time as a UFC fighter. It's 10.8% of his UFC cage time, which is 123 minutes. So this is not a guy that you got to worry about controlling his opponents for long periods of time, especially ones with really good takedown defense like Chris Curtis. So I think that this fight takes place at distance striking range. And because of Berio and how aggressive he is, yeah, I think that it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that Chris is landing 5 to 6 significant strikes per minute in this fight. And if he's doing that, if this gets up to about the 11 or 12 minute mark, yeah, I think that there's a very high probability that does go over. You have to worry about Chris Curtis getting a knockdown, a knockout early in the first or second rounds there. Then you're going to have a very hard time going over 61.5 significant strikes. Let's also do something else here, because we can look with my data. We can go to the 185-pound weight class. We can go down here to my little significant strike tool, and we can type in 61.5. So 118 out of 541 middleweights who won their fights since the year 2013, about 22% got over that number. If you lose your fight as a middleweight since 2013, only 8.7% of guys who lose their fights are getting over that number. So if I were to give you like a kind of like an impromptu Uncle Weezy's tits metric on the history of the division, what the percentage chance of somebody with like a 66% win probability would get over that number, it would be something like, store that in one, and then we got 0.0869 times 0.34 plus recall 1. Uncle Weezy's tits metric would have the probability of Chris Curtis or just a random UFC middleweight with a minus 190 money line. The odds that they would get over that would be about 17.3%. So Uncle Weezy's tits metric measures just what the history of the division is. So we separate it by division and we just say, how many times because only 15.25% of the time, 165 out of 1,082 fighters have gotten over that number of significant strikes, have gotten 62 or more in a fight. So that tells you what you're up against. That's a high number to get over in the middleweight division. So you always know it's a tall number to get over, one. And then number two, Chris does tend to prefer to counter. So if Berio doesn't engage as much as he usually does, then that's another possibility for it to go under. If Berio winds up getting a lot of clinch control time, that could potentially be something that drives it under. So yeah, it's good to know what you're up against when you're trying to make these bets. We've got Ari Mar saying Drickus round 3 TKO. Yeah, man, it's going to be a great fight. I cannot wait for that one. I just think somebody's getting served at some point. I'm very agnostic about who wins the fight. JP saying if Mallet smokes Magny in the first, you think Magny is off to the PFL? I don't know. It depends on his contract situation. I mean, Neil Magny, this is going to be his 32nd UFC fight. So he's a veteran of the organization and he probably makes a ton of money just to show up. So, he probably just sticks with the UFC as long as they're willing to pay him. J Book saying, what's up, Weezy? I have a weird feeling Myra Bueno could get a TKO for plus 750. Well, I've got her money line parlayed up and I'm probably going to grab the sub prop at some point, but I kind of want to wait and see where everybody else prices it. But a TKO could be interesting, but she doesn't really get a lot of top control time. So that could be interesting. I think she's a lot more likely to win by submission, but plus 750 is a pretty wide line, so you don't really have to put much on it in order to profit potentially big. So I wish you luck if that's what you're going to go with. We Fight Talk only saying, sup, T.O. Weezy. Thoughts on Jazz Vicious round 3, Curtis round 2? I got Jazz Vicious winning by decision. But Jazz Vicious round 3 is probably a pretty fat number. Curtis round 2, I think that probably would be when he'd find that knockout. I like Curtis round 2 a lot more than I like Jazz Vicious round 3. But they're both. I see the rationale behind why you would pick either of those bets. Because earlier in the week I said Jazz Vicious by decision, but I said I'd kind of rather have Jazz Vicious round 3 decision, just in case she does get her down in the first and wear on her, does get her down in the second and wear on her, and then gets her down in the third, and that puts Priscilla into the place where all right, now I got to give up my back. Now I got to do whatever it takes to get up. That could leave the opening, for her to get to the dominant position where she gets that submission or gets that ground and pound finish. So I don't hate either of them, but I like Chris Curtis round 2 a lot this week. I think that's a pretty good look. That's a great point about DDP never going to decision. Yeah, I mean, he's had 6 or 7 fights on the regional scene that were scheduled for 5 rounds, but they all ended in the first 2 rounds. I think maybe one of them, or maybe even 2 of them, might have went to the third. Drickus has never been out of a third round in his life, and you see the way that he fights. That is not a sustainable pace for 25 minutes. Jay Book saying, keep up the great work. You always kill it. I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching me. We got JP saying, didn't Drickus fight 5 rounders in the African promotion? He was a 2-weight champion. Yeah, he fought fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds. But if you go to your Uncle Weezy's prop template here, let me show you this. So I've got the 5-round prop template for this fight. We gotta keep going. And there it is. So Drickus DuPlessis has never been scheduled for 5 rounds in the UFC. Sean has been scheduled 6 times, and only one of those 6 fights has finished inside the distance. But DuPlessis was scheduled for 5 rounds, 7 different times on the regional scene. All 7 of them finished inside the distance. Not one of them. Fight doesn't start round 4. Look at that. All 7 of the fights didn't get to round 4. Does look like 2 of them went over 2.5, but the only 2 that went over 2.5 finished in the last 2.5 minutes of round 3. And that's because of how Dricus fights. He's either going to kill you or he's going to kill himself trying to kill you. And Sean's pressure and volume, if Dricus does get tired, is going to snap him right in half, and it won't take long. And like I said, Sean goes 5 rounds all the time. So he's going to be able to put a pace on Dricus in the 4th and the 5th if it gets that far, but I don't think it will. Dricus is going to be tough to finish, but those 4th and 5th rounds are relative unknowns. We got Frank Bryan in the room saying Myra and Dricus both inside the distance is plus 405 on FanDuel. Thoughts? I think Myra Bueno Silva finishes, and I think whoever wins the Dricus-Sean fight finishes. Like I said, I'm not really being one of those guys. It's like I'm making a pick, I'm sticking with it, and whoever picks against me is wrong. My pick is violence. So if you're on the Dricus side, I think he's going to win inside the distance. I mean, he just hits so hard, and if he catches Sean clean, Sean's going down, because when Dricus catches anybody clean, they're going down. I got my lady Myra inside the distance for plus 150 on Unibet. That's a great line. It's a great line because now you got the sub and the knockout. So if something weird does happen, because, I remember having Virna Jandiroba to win by submission versus Kanako Murata, and she broke her arm. But then the fight got stopped between rounds because Kanako didn't quit when her arm got broken. So then it becomes a TKO, and then you're left there. If you're on the sub prop, you don't get it, even though she subbed her. You don't cash the bet because it's called a referee's stoppage, which is the same as a TKO. So yeah, man, might as well take the inside the distance. I think it's a great play. How do you bet finish only on DraftKings? Okay, so for DraftKings, you got that row at the top. You're going to go to fight lines, and then when you go to fight lines, it'll have all of those all of the regular bets, and it'll say money line decision only, money line finish only. It'll be to the right of the money lines. So I'm not logging into my DraftKings here, but here, let me just Google. Book. Sportsbook. MMA. UFC. And you see the fight lines over here. You just go 2 to the right of that, money line finish only. And right now, Jordan finish only minus 330. Katona minus 135. Arnold Allen minus 165 on DraftKings. Curtis minus 175. Malat minus 900. Myra Bueno Silva minus 450. So she's got all the finishing equity in this fight. And then Dricus DuPlessis minus 135. So he's an underdog, but the books think he has more finishing equity than Sean Strickland does. All right. Bob Spikerman saying, okay, I got parlays ending on Jazz Devicius. Going to parlay Jazz Devicius over 1.5, Gordon under 2.5. Got the Curtis money line at minus 138, Viana under 2.5, minus 120, Mallet under 2.5, Curtis over 1.5, also parlayable. I think those were all good looks, dude. And I am fucking betting Arnold Allen, just waiting on the line to drop even more. Yeah, I think the money keeps coming in. I think if you want to bet Arnold Allen, you can just wait until Friday or Saturday. Definitely parlaying the Sean's this card. You're going with Sean Woodson and Sean Strickland. I like that, man. That's a good look. We got Mr. Toad saying, everyone has just forgot how damaged Strickland's right leg is. He can barely kick with his back leg. No, that's true. Yeah, man, he can't. He hasn't shot for a takedown like since before that fucking that motorcycle accident. So yeah, man, it's definitely he's never been the same since that motorcycle accident, and I think that's why he has to be, just this pressure box, because there's nothing else in the tank for his body to be able to do certain things just because of that accident. It was so debilitating. Roid Rage in the room saying Weezy's stats undefeated. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for hanging out. We got Vic saying, hey, Unc, I'm considering putting a half unit on Strickland. Second, third, or fourth round KO combo on FanDuel. It's hitting a plus 500 right now, and I can just see it happening already. I don't hate that at all. Plus 500 to win 2.5 units. I don't hate that at all, because like I said, dude, Strickland hits hard too, and Drickus leaves a ton of openings. His defense is dog shit. He runs at people. He literally runs at people, and just, if the right foot is forward, then the left hand is forward, and then when he puts that left foot forward, then the right. I mean, it just brings his feet with him and runs and strikes, and Sean could just plant his feet and just put one right on his chin and remove him from consciousness when he does that. It's about who's going to be more accurate here, because Drickus moves forward enough that, Sean doesn't really need to provide a lot of power, because he's going to walk onto stuff. Fight Talk only saying, not related to fights, Unc, but do you live near the Brewster Apartments at Diversey and Pine Grove? Yeah, dude. Okay, so I used to work for Lou Malnati's back when I was going back to college. And we delivered to that building over there on Diversey and Pine Grove, where they shot the child play. They got the old school elevator in the building, and when you go in there, like, there's literally an attendant to help you and tell you how to use the elevator. Such a cool building there on Diversey and Pine Grove, and the look inside that building is amazing. I've been in there. I've delivered pizzas in there. That's why I've been in there, and I have seen that place. It is badass, and I love the elevator in there, man. That's wild that I actually know that place. That I know exactly the place that you're talking about. Peter Perez in the room saying, Sean, only have to weather the first storm, and then Sean will frustrate Drickus. Yeah, I think the pressure is going to be difficult for Drickus to deal with, because Drickus is so used to being the one that's being the pressure fighter. Sean Woodson or Jordan? I'm picking Jordan. I think that there's a lot of advantages, in particular the durability advantage, the strength of schedule advantage, and I think there's a power differential as well. So I have to go with Jordan on paper for a pick, but I think Sean can keep this close if he doesn't absorb big shots. There's a big reach and height advantage here. But you know what I think Jordan is going to do very well is kick those legs. I think that's how he's going to manage closing the distance, is by making Sean, worry about planting his feet. Because if he plants his feet and tries to stay behind that jab, I think that Jordan's going to be chopping down those legs, and you just don't want that when you're 6'2.5" and 145 pounds. I don't think Woodson wants his legs getting kicked. So I am on the Woodson, or I'm on the Jordan side, but I don't have any tracked action on that fight yet. Yeah, thanks, Weez. I got it. All right, cool, TJ. Ben Ryder saying, thanks for everything. Give us a 2-leg money line parlay. Yeah, I've got a couple of parlays this week, you guys. I've got a 2-leg parlay. I've got the Stop the Violence parlay, Ben Ryder, which is the Arnold Allen, Movsar Evloev over 2.5 rounds, parlayed with the Brad Katona, Garrett Armfield over 2.5 rounds on Bet Online. That 2-leg parlay came out to plus 105. And I also have a 2-leg parlay, which is Myra Bueno Silva to win. And the fight doesn't go to decision for Strickland versus DuPlessis. I put that on DraftKings Sportsbook. That came out to plus 119. So they're not money lines, but they are parlayable. And a 2-leg money line parlay, I'll give you my ass shaving of the week, Myra Bueno Silva, parlayed with Mike Malott should actually be plus money. And I think that that's a pretty good one. I'm not parlaying Katona at minus 200. We're not parlaying Malcolm Gordon at minus 220. Not parlaying Jazz Davicius at minus 400. Still, Priscilla could land a big shot there. Not parlaying Jillian at minus 300. Not parlaying Jordan at minus 214. A lot of these money lines are getting a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, I think we could probably get plus money if we were to parlay. Yeah, we can do that. I think there's a parlay or we'll go to no. Let's see. Promotion. Bucket, you do your own math. The money line parlay is Myra Bueno Silva and Mike Malott, my man, for the money lines. Am I cooking up on prize picks this week, says Christian Jenkins? No, I'm not. I haven't been able to do the work because I'm still I didn't load everything into these widgets that I'm building right now. But for prize picks, the play that I gave out today, fucking really, am I not logged into this shit? So annoying. I liked the Malcolm Gordon over for fantasy points. God, fucking assholes. Let's go. MMA. Myra Bueno Silva, 75.5 significant strikes. Really? Let me look at that number. I don't like that. I think that's a really high number. So she lands 4.17 per minute. She lands 5.45 at distance. Yeah, maybe I'll stay away from that. What I did give out, I think that Malcolm Gordon hit the fantasy score at only 73.5. 80% of the time, Christian, the winner in the flyweight division scores more than 73.5 points. And I think that Malcolm Gordon does win this fight, but if Flick submits him, he won't get anywhere near that number. Jasmine Jasdovicius is trying to score 95.5 on prize picks. You don't get points for control time. So you're really only getting points if you're landing significant strikes after you get takedowns. Fighters that get takedowns and then don't land significant strikes once they're there, I don't think that they're going to get over 95.5 fantasy score. Let's look real quick on my prize picks, and we'll go to the women's featherweight division. And the fantasy score was what? 95.5. So Rise picks fantasy score 3 rounds, 95.5. See how often the winner gets that number. Only 51% of the time, and basically less than 1% of the time the loser gets it. So this is something where I wish I had put all the stats into my new widgets, because I can give you some numbers, but I don't have everything at my fingertips yet, Christian. But I think Jasmine under that fantasy points number is pretty good, because she's not going to stuff takedowns. And if Priscilla doesn't absorb a lot of ground strikes, let me look and see, because I know Priscilla has, absorbed a lot of ground strikes in past fights. Like, she's allowing 5.74 significant strikes per minute when she's being when she's in control time positions. But look, Jasmine is very low volume in the clinch and the ground. She's only landing 2 per minute. If that's the case, and she only lands 3.32 significant strikes per minute, where do they have Jasmine's significant strike total at? Dude, take the Jasmine Jasdovicius under 60.5 significant strikes. That's too big of a number. Entirely too big of a number. Evloev, I think, lands a lot of ground strikes. We talked about that Chris Curtis number. Jordan 75. I think that's a very fair number for a 15-minute fight because he lands about 5 per minute. Surrey City 37.5. I think he can go over that number. 27.5, 20.5. Are there any fight time props that I like? I think you can go Malcolm Gordon under 7.5, Christian. I think you can go Johan Leoness over 6.5 because I don't think Johan's knocking out Sam Patterson in the first round. I think Johan Leoness is a bum. I really do. And I think Sam is a guy who gets better as the fight goes on. So, yeah, I think we can find a nice little three-legger here with Jazz Davicius under 60.5 significant strikes. Johan Leoness more than 6.5 minutes. Malcolm Gordon less than 7.5 minutes. $20 wins 100. 100 wins 500. Let's go with that for the play. Jasmine, less than 60.5. Johan, more than 6.5 minutes. Malcolm Gordon, less than 7.5 minutes. My man. All right. We got Frank Bryan saying, just got the okay from Uncle Weezy. Full unit on Myra and Drickus inside the distance. Let's get it, Frank. I hope you cash that, man. We got Victor De Jesus saying, thank you so much for taking the time to answer all the questions. Best of luck to you this weekend. Best of luck to you, Victor. Thank you for all the support that you've given the channel and the Patreon over the years, man. It means a lot, dude. So anything you need, you just ask your Uncle Weezy. He's got you. Caddy Daddy saying, what do I think of the Tavares City rematch? I was on Tavares last time. I'm close to being there again. Yeah, there's a lot of things I like on the City side. Younger, taller, longer, more cage time. I think he's the better grappler for sure. Super durable. And I think he's got a good clinch game, a good ground game, and good boxing. I'm picking City to win the fight, but I think Tavares' pocket boxing and his pressure style is it going to be a tough style for City. So I'm looking forward to seeing that rematch, and hopefully, we get it to play out to where it was supposed to, which is actually getting us an outcome this time around. I'm leaning City, though. There's a lot of things to like on the City side. Mr. Toad saying, since the account, Sean only kicks with his front leg. Yeah, and switch from a grappler to a boxer. He also hasn't faced a grappler similar to DDP, so I could see a DDP submission being likely. It could be, especially if he's not cut out to grapple anymore. And the fact that he's not trying takedowns against guys like Pereira and Adesanya is a really, in my opinion, all that you need to know about this guy's grappling game at this point in his career. Ben Ryder saying, who did you pick as your ass shaving of the week? I apologize, I missed it. Sorry, my bad. Thanks. It's Myra Bueno Silva to shave the ass of Raquel Pennington. Rouse is saying, thanks, Unc. Would you consider betting Woodson over 0.5 takedowns? If that's the line BetOnline comes out with on Friday. Charles has been taken down at least one time in 9 of 12 UFC fights. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad look because we did see Woodson kind of go to the wrestling, and Charles Jourdain has always had bad takedown defense. So I do think that that's a possibility for this week that he gets one takedown or more. We saw him mix it in the last time, and maybe he'll be like a kid with a new toy and want to go to it again. We'll have to see where they set the line, and it'll be like minus 115 on the opener. So I don't know if I'd want to lay juice on Sean Woodson wrestling, but it's definitely a possibility. Oh, man, that's cool as shit. The Old School Elevator is classic. Chucky was in there running around back in 1988, man. Yeah, and like I was working there many years ago, like at least 10 years ago, I would say. But still, yeah, it was very interesting, man. That building is so cool. Was your ass shaving of the week over 80% correct in 2023? It seems like it was really good. Thanks, you're awesome. My guy Martin Dermov actually sent me the ass shaving of the week record for the year. And it was, I think, around 70 something percent. It was not 80% correct. I definitely had some losing streaks. I would lose like 2 in a row. And then once you lose 2 in a row, you got to hit 8 in a row just to be at 80%. So yeah, I think it was in the 70s, and we were plus EV. If you bet one unit on the ass shaving of the week every week of the year, you came out ahead. but not by much, unfortunately. So I'm looking to do even better this year. And we got Burner saying, ahoy, hoy. Ahoy, hoy, my man. Good to see you in here. Skyrocket 1010 saying, just yell at me if I've been lost, boss. But you said Allen for the win, right, Doc? No, I'm picking Evloev to win. I'm actually picking Evloev to win by decision, but I have Allen in the finish only prop as a max bet. And that bet will void if the fight goes to decision. But I think if there is a finish, that Arnold Allen is the one getting the finish here. Mr. Toad saying, Strickland's ground game post motorcycle really hasn't been tested, and Drickus was able to take down a guy like Whitaker, who's got excellent takedown defense. Yes, absolutely. Mr. Toad, okay. Yeah. So appreciate you guys for hanging out. I'm gonna watch the last episode of Fargo with my girlfriend right now. I appreciate 44 of you hanging out here live with your Uncle Weezy, asking me questions. I hope I answered all your questions here. I hope you guys all enjoy watching these fights and make some money watching them. Ben Ryder, I gave the underdog pick as the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dog Pick of the Week on Just the Tip last night. It's Sam Patterson's money line is my favorite underdog pick of the week. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks, you guys, for UFC 297. And I will be back on Friday afternoon right here on this channel to give you guys a greasy 4-leg parlay for this phenomenal card. Have a great night, everybody, and I will see you guys on Friday. And my guy Taylor Tea is saying, love your work, Weezy. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for watching, my man. Appreciate you guys' support. You all have a great night.